red. Not blue. Not white. Red. In 30 chapters, the system has communicated with Sung Jin-Woo through a consistent visual grammar. Blue notifications for level-ups and stat increases. White for quests and daily objectives. Occasional gold for milestone achievements. The color has always told him what category of information was coming. And in 30 chapters, he has learned to read that color before he reads the words. This notification is red. The system does not explain what red means. It does not offer a category or a precedent. It presents the notification and waits. And Jin-Woo, who has learned over 5 episodes of pain and grinding that when the system introduces something without context, the context is always worse than you imagined, reads it once. Then he reads it again. Chapters 31 through 35 are the arc where the system stops being a mechanism for Jin-Woo's personal development and reveals itself as something larger. Something that has been tracking a threat that makes every dungeon Jin-Woo has ever cleared look like a rehearsal. This is the arc where Sung Jin-Woo stops hiding. Not because he chooses to, because what he finds inside that red notification leaves him no choice. This is Solo Leveling, chapters 31 through 35. The arc where the red notification reveals a threat so far outside the existing classification grid that the Hunter world's most senior figures begin openly acknowledging that their current systems are not equipped to respond to it. Quick context for where we stand. Jin-Woo ends chapter 30 with Cha Hae-in's immeasurable report sitting on Go Gun-hee's desk, a formal association invitation in his inbox, and the red system notification open on his screen. His shadow army numbers 9. His stats are climbing through territory the system's original designers could not have anticipated. He is, by any objective measure, the most operationally capable hunter in Korea. Registered as E-rank, operating in secret, paying his mother's hospital bills. The red notification changes the scale of everything. What it identifies is not a dungeon, not a gate, not a dungeon break, the kind of localized emergency that Seoul has dealt with before. What the system has flagged is what it classifies internally as a dungeon of absolute doom. A gate so far above the classification ceiling that the Hunter World standard response protocols, the ones that have handled every emergency since the gates first appeared, are not designed for it. The Hunter World has a classification for every threat it has encountered. What is inside Chapter 31's red notification does not have a classification. The association scale does not go high enough to contain it, and the system has sent the notification to exactly one person. Chapter 31. Jin-Woo reads the full notification. The system has detected what it designates a dungeon of absolute doom in a location 40 kilometers outside Seoul. The gate's internal threat level is classified above the existing S-rank ceiling. Not marginally above, not in a way that existing S-rank hunters could compensate for with numbers or coordination. Above. Categorically. In the way that a hurricane is not just a large rainstorm. The notification does not suggest Jin-Woo report this to the association. It does not suggest he coordinate a response. It issues him a quest. Enter alone. Clear the gate. The quest reward is listed, and the reward is not experience points or a stat increase. The reward is described as information. Specifically, the reason the system exists. Jin-Woo reads that line 4 times. The reason the system exists. In 31 chapters, the system has never offered him context. It has given him objectives, penalties, rewards, upgrades. It has treated him entirely as a participant in something whose rules he could observe, but whose origin and purpose were completely opaque. The promise of that information, after 31 chapters of operating without it, is not just a quest reward. It is the first time the system has acknowledged that it has an origin and a purpose at all. Chapter 32. The Association's Monitoring Division detects the gates simultaneously. Emergency protocols activate. Go Gun-hee is notified within the hour. The assessment comes back within 3 hours. The gate's emission readings are unlike anything in the existing database. The senior analysts are not able to place it on the existing threat scale because the existing threat scale was built on the assumption that the highest threat the world would face was what had already been encountered. That assumption has just been retired. Chapter 33. Go Gun-hee convenes an emergency briefing. The room contains the 5 highest-ranked active hunters in Korea, 3 association vice-chairmen, and 2 external consultants from international hunter organizations. The conclusion of the briefing, reached after 4 hours, is that the gate cannot be cleared by any currently available means. The recommendation is containment and evacuation of the surrounding area. Buying time while international support is mobilized. Every hunter in that room is looking at the same gate and seeing a catastrophe they cannot stop. Jin-Woo is not in that room. He is 40 kilometers outside Seoul, standing in front of the gate alone, looking at the red notification on his system screen. He is looking at the same gate and seeing a quest. Stop. Because I want to be precise about what Jin-Woo walking into that gate actually means. Not for the story, but for him personally. Because the obvious reading is that this is a heroic moment. The lone hunter going where armies dare not. The underdog stepping up. But that is not what this is. Not entirely. Jin-Woo does not go into that gate because he is brave. He goes because the system has offered him something he cannot refuse. The answer to the question that has been underneath every chapter since chapter 1. Why does the system exist? What is it for? What is he being built into, and by whom, and for what purpose? For 31 chapters, he has followed the system's instructions without knowing their origin. He has leveled up without knowing what the levels are for. He has built a shadow army without knowing what war it is intended to fight. And now, for the first time, the system is offering to tell him. The price is entering a gate that the entire Korean hunter establishment has formally assessed as unclearable. That is not bravery. That is a calculated decision made by a man who has run the risk assessment and concluded that the cost of not knowing outweighs the cost of the attempt. He is not being brave. He is being logical. And that distinction, that what looks like heroism is actually a very cold form of self-interest directed at existential information, is the most quietly terrifying thing about Sung Jin-Woo. Chapter 34. He enters the gate. The interior is unlike any dungeon he has cleared. Not in scale. He has been inside large gates. Not in monster density. He has handled high volumes before. What is different is the architecture. The gate has been constructed. Not in the way that geological formations create dungeon interiors, but deliberately, intentionally. Rooms that serve purposes. Corridors that channel movement. The spatial logic of something built rather than formed. He clears the outer chambers using his shadow army. Efficiently. Without significant resistance. The monsters here are powerful by any conventional standard. S-rank equivalent on the association scale. Jin-Woo's shadows handle them methodically, and he adds 3 more to his army as he moves deeper. And then he reaches the inner chamber. The boss inside Chapter 34's inner chamber is the first enemy in the series that gives Jin-Woo pause. Not fear. He has moved past the point where conventional fear responses serve him. But pause. The creature is enormous, and its power signature is not just above what he has encountered. It is above what the system's damage notifications treat as a reference point. When he strikes it and sees the damage number, he recalculates his approach in real time. The fight lasts 47 minutes. His longest dungeon engagement by a significant margin. He uses every shadow soldier. He takes damage. Actual, significant damage that his recovery stat cannot immediately compensate for. He runs through 3 complete tactical approaches before finding one the creature cannot adapt to. He wins. Chapter 35. The gate clears. The system notification appears. Not blue, not white. Still red. But this time the content is different. The quest is complete. The reward is available. And the system delivers, for the first time in the entire series, an explanation. Not a complete one. Not a simple one. But enough. Enough that Jin-Woo, sitting in the cleared interior of a gate that the entire Korean hunter establishment concluded was impenetrable, reads the system's message and understands, for the first time, what he has been preparing for. He does not speak. He does not react visibly. He reads the message once. And he closes his eyes. Here's what chapters 31 through 35 are really doing structurally, and why I think this arc is the hinge that everything in the first 35 chapters was building toward. Every arc until now has been about Jin-Woo's development in isolation. His power. His army. His secret. His choices. The world has been reacting to him, but the story has been fundamentally internal. What is happening to this one person, and why, and what it costs him? The red notification ends that. When the system reveals. Partially, deliberately, with the care of something that has been waiting for the right moment. That it does not exist to make Jin-Woo powerful, but because something is coming that the world is not equipped to survive without him. The story stops being about a person and starts being about a purpose. And this reframes every prior chapter retroactively. The double dungeon was not random. The system did not choose Jin-Woo arbitrarily. The grind was not just personal development. The Shadow Army is not just a power upgrade. All of it. Every quest, every penalty, every painful daily routine at 4 in the morning has been preparation. Deliberate, structured preparation for a specific threat that the system has known about since before. Jin-Woo's name was on a hunter registration. He was not found. He was selected. And the thing he has been selected to face is still coming. I will not tell you what the system reveals, specifically, in Chapter 35. If you are watching these recaps to catch up before reading the full series, that moment deserves to hit you in the source material. What I will tell you is that after reading it, I had to put the manhwa down for a while. Not because it is shocking in a cheap way. Because it is the kind of revelation that makes you go back to Chapter 1 and reread it knowing what you know now. And it reads completely differently. But here's what you need to know about where Chapter 35 leaves us on the outside of that gate. While Jin-Woo has been inside, the Association's response operation has fully mobilized. 12 hunters, 4 A ranks and 8 B ranks, are stationed on the containment perimeter. Evacuation of the surrounding area is 70% complete. International liaison teams have been contacted. Go Gun-hee himself has been on site since hour 3 of the operation, because this is the kind of event that a chairman cannot manage from an office. The containment plan assumes the gate will need to be held for 72 to 96 hours before a coordinated international response can be assembled. It assumes the gate interior is active. It assumes no hunter has entered or will enter before that response is ready. None of these assumptions account for Sung Jin-Woo. Chapter 35, Final Pages. The gate's emission readings, which the monitoring equipment has been tracking continuously since the operation began, dropped to 0. Not gradually, instantaneously. The gate destabilizes and collapses inward the way cleared gates do, the way every cleared gate has, the way no gate in this operation was expected to for at least 3 more days. And Sung Jin-Woo walks out. He is alone. He is injured, not critically, but visibly. He walks through the collapsed gate perimeter past 12 hunters who have just watched the impossible happen, and he does not stop to explain. He does not address the A ranks. He does not acknowledge Go Gun-hee, who is standing 20 meters away watching him with an expression that is not surprise. Because Go Gun-hee stopped being surprised by Sung Jin-Woo some weeks ago, but something closer to confirmation. Not one of the 12 hunters on that perimeter knows what to say. Because there is no protocol for this. The protocol assumes the gate is still active. The protocol was written for a world where Sung Jin-Woo is E rank. That world ends here. Chapters 36 through 40 cover what happens when the hunter world, the guilds, the association, the international bodies, is forced to formally reckon with what Sung Jin-Woo is. And what they decide to do about it. That recap drops Thursday. Subscribe now, because the next 5 chapters are the ones that determine whether the world treats Jin-Woo as an asset, a threat, or something it has no category for. I will see you Thursday.